If the average American was a business, everyone would be bankrupt. No one sees their financial portfolio in terms of a business. And so in this video, in the first portion of it, I'm gonna get right into the meat and bones and not save it to the end. I'm gonna give you how to create a personal profit and loss. And then I'm gonna go into some of the implications of what's actually happening in the economy. But right now, let's look at what you can do with your finances to find out if you're living in the red. Check this out. Let's just say the average American is making $60,000 and their spouse is making $60,000. That's $120,000 a year. That's $10,000 per month combined. Now let's break that down, right? Let's just say 20% of it goes to taxes, insurance. This is all income that's getting docked from their actual paycheck. So let's say you're going home with $8,000 per month. Well, the average consumer is probably paying more than $8,000 in total expenses. Watch, it's this simple. Let's just say you take a mortgage, that's $4,000. That leaves you with $4,000 total. Well, how much is a car payment right now? About $700. So let's just say with insurance on a vehicle, you're at $1,000. Now you're left with $3,000 total, and that doesn't cover bills, utilities, any of that. So let's just say on the cheap side, it's $500, right? That leaves you with $2,500. Okay, now everyone has student loans. So what do you say a student loan payment is? Let's just say it's about $250. All right, so that leaves us with $2,250. This is just fixed expenses. Now we have $2,250 for variable expenses. In here, you got to include the kids' clothes, food, entertainment. Keep in mind, this doesn't even include credit card payments. So now if we look at this, right, let's just say people took out credit cards. I mean, this is completely screwed, but let's take this $2,250 and divide it by 4. That's going to give us about $560, right? So now let's start a blank page, right? So you have the average American has about $560 total per week for just regular life, clothes, leisure. This is split between a husband and wife, right? So that means actually the husband gets $230 per week and the wife gets $230 per week. It's crazy. So now let's go a little further, right? This is where the credit crisis is gonna come and it's gonna blow up, right? I'm gonna take you back to 2020. Boom, rates dropped to 0, but stimulus packages hit. Everyone has extra money. Well, credit cards balances actually dropped. Now what happens after the credit cards actually drop? Amex doesn't call you and ask you, hey, John, do you want a new credit limit? No. Amex then says, hey, John lowered his credit card balances. So guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna increase his credit limit. So what happens? John goes from a $2,500 credit limit to all of a sudden he's got $10,000. Now, Amex doesn't just go and drop this right away unless he starts missing payments, right? But what happens? They got $2,250. Generally, the average American is just using that to pay credit cards. And then all of their other expenses, whether it's clothes, gas, groceries, all that is getting put on credit cards. And it's this never-ending cycle of John pays his credit cards, and then credit cards are used to pay for variable expenses. Now what's happening? John's credit cards, their balances are starting to creep up. And all of a sudden now what you're starting to see, right? Let's say they had a $10,000 limit. Well, they've been fine over the past few years because they've been here and here and here and here. But now people's credit cards are actually reaching the limit. Now, if John and his wife Maria have been living off credit cards, and now their credit cards are no longer working, what happens next? Well, if they stop paying their credit cards, right? Going back to our first example, they had $2,250 left for variable expenses. Now they have to use this money to pay for groceries, right? To pay for clothes. After school activities, I pay over $1,000 in my daughter's after school activities, right? Let's just say kids. John and Maria have been living in the red the whole time, but they've been kept afloat because of their credit cards. And now you're starting to see credit card balances are peaking. But you know what else is peaking? Delinquencies. And now that people are tapped out, no mas credit cards, they're having to use their actual money to pay for normal life expenses. But guess what's also happening? They're over leveraged there too. Because that 22.5, because of inflation, doesn't go anywhere. Remember, this is only $230 per week. Let's just say they go to McDonald's once a week. That's $100 at least for a family of 5. He's left with $130 for the week. Inflation, credit card debt. The consumer crisis is nasty. So guess what's starting to happen? Auto loans. Guess what's happening to those? Delinquencies. Those are up. Credit cards, delinquencies. Those are up. You know what no one is talking about? 90-day lates on mortgages. Those are up. You're starting to see pre-foreclosure activity. Those are up. And the Fed has their head stuck up their ass and they can't see what's going on. Guess what else is happening? Unemployment. People who get on unemployment stay on unemployment. But the Fed is keeping the federal fund rate where it is because they're worried about inflation. And yeah, inflation is a problem. It's creeping back towards 3%. But what does it matter when people can't afford to live? And if you're out there and you're saying, well, Tony, $4,000 is crazy for a mortgage, who actually has that? Let me show you something. Let's just say they had a 2% rate on a $500,000 mortgage. That would be about a $3,000 payment. But you know what's happening? A bunch of people in 2022 and 2023, they tapped into HELOCs. And those HELOCs for $100,000 are the equivalent of about $1,000 a month payment. And guess what? These delinquencies are up. People aren't paying on those either. So it's mind-boggling to me when people say there isn't a consumer credit crisis. There is. Now, when's a bubble going to pop? Because that's the million-dollar question. What I do know is investors are holding their cash. This isn't financial advice because I'm not a financial advisor or a mortgage broker. But major funds, major investors are holding liquid cash because they're getting ready to buy. You've seen some anticipation in the crypto market. You just had a 20% drop in Bitcoin and it's a V-shaped recovery. It came right back. They're testing it to see how people are going to react. The bubble seems to be very inflated with the leak now, but it's only a matter of time before that bubble completely pops. If you're having some financial distress, you own a house and you're having struggles with your bills and you want to know, how do I tap my equity to try to pay everything off? Or you're just like, I just can't do this anymore. We literally have right now people that are listing their houses because they're so far upside down that they can't keep up with all of their payments. They can't get a HELOC because their credit's already trashed. And so we're having to list their house so they can tap their equity. I'm a microcosm of a greater economy because I'm in the financial world. I'm amongst the people doing this. And if it's happening to my clients, it's happening everywhere. And so if you have questions, feel free to fill out the form in our bio so we can help you out. And make sure you comment, like, and subscribe because we're here to add value and we actually give a fuck about you, the individual. We're not just here for a paycheck. As a matter of fact, I don't make money off YouTube. All I do is want to give you a resource to help you out.